it's good to be back.
Yeah.
Good to be back with you.
Good to have you back.
Thank you, thank you. My daughter was in town. She's in Sacramento now, so we got some good mommy-daughter time, which is much overdue. So, good to be back. And especially on today, 42 years. Happy anniversary, Unity of Carlsbad. Wow, 42 years. You know, I was thinking this week of the founding ministers. Was Reverend Pauline. Somebody help me with their last name. Maradi? And she was in Unity of San Diego, and she and a core group had a vision of bringing Unity from San Diego up to Carlsbad. And boy, is that a divine idea or what? So she and her core group worked with this vision. They lifted it in prayer. They listened. They took action steps to bring it into form. And we are here today because they dared to dream. They dared to dream and to take action steps on the dream. Wow. So thank you to our founders. And I suspect that in the beginning, some of you were part of that. So this takes that divine imagination to conceive something and then take steps and then keep on going even when there's obstacles, right? So let's just do a little check-in. If you've been here since the founding of this community or in the early 1980s, would you please stand? Oh, Reverend Kathy. Yes, thank you. You can be seated. Thank you, Kathy, for being a pillar of light now and all this time. So if you were here at the Roosevelt location or we're in Harding for a while, please stand if you've been here since that time. Wow. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. Oh, okay. And you played there too. Awesome. Okay. And then if you've been here since the Senior Center or today's your first day, please stand. Yay. Thank you. So I would be in that category too, as I moved here 3 years ago. So as we look around at everyone, I encourage you just to look around and know that we are living in expressions of a divine dream. A divine dream. For spiritual community is God's idea. It really is God's idea. And so may we continue to call forth the best in ourselves, in each other, and in the spiritual community to continue to be the dream of hope, of light, of the unity message that is so beautiful in the world, that heals hearts and relationships and brings people together in one light and one love. And we do want to remember some of our Unity friends who haven't made it quite back to the building yet, but they are with us virtually and in our hearts. The Dalicons, Joyce, Mike and Linda, Betsy, and there's probably others too. And if you're looking around today and someone who sits by you is not here today, you might just hold a prayer. We have several congregants who are recuperating from health challenges, so we just see them healthy and whole and the healing stream of God in their bodies, renewing, recharging, re-energizing, and returning each person to health and wholeness. And visualize them sitting next to you again. So, Albert Einstein once said that logic will get you from A to B, but imagination will take you everywhere. So where has your imagination taken you lately? I hope you've been giving yourself time to dream and imagine and listen to that still small voice of spirit That's very quiet, usually. So that's why we practice prayer and meditation, to get still, to hear it, to hear those whispers. And those dreaming times, perhaps that is God dreaming in you and through you. So this month has been ripe with rituals, hasn't it? With releasing, reflecting, renewing, and cultivating our power of divine imagination. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, no, I don't have an imagination. I've heard people tell me that before. But consider this. What happens when that friend doesn't return your phone call? Or your text? Or your third text? Where does your imagination go? Or a letter from the IRS shows up? Or you're waiting for the results of a test or a job interview or a medical exam. So if you've ever worried about something, you have an imagination. And if you've ever visualized something and seen it right, you have an imagination. So our faculty of mind, this is one of our powers, divine powers of mind, to shape thought and form. To shape. Charles Fillmore calls it the power to shape and form thought. So we have that power to form our thoughts. And those thoughts that just, come in, we can let them go out. It depends what we entertain, right? Because we can't help but think in pictures. So consider these newspaper headlines. These were real headlines at one time. Red tape holds up new bridge. Milk drinkers are turning to powder. Astronaut takes blame for gas in spacecraft. Eye drops off shelf. So if I asked everyone to bring chips next week, what would you bring? Potato chips, corn chips, banana chips?
Poker chips.
Did I hear poker chips over there? Poker chips, computer chips, ice chips, or some other kind of chip. Yeah. So we know our imaginations can generate all kinds of pictures and feelings, both pleasant and unpleasant. And so to celebrate the good, we first have to imagine it, be willing to see it, and give thanks for it. And even give thanks for it in advance. In advance. So we're talking about our spiritual function of imagination and the power that has today to celebrate the good. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, called divine imagination, I love this, he called it the chisel we wield in molding the paradise of our inner thought kingdoms. Has anyone worked with a chisel before? You have to be very precise and persistent, right? To get the shape that you want with a chisel. So that's how our imagination is. It's persistent, it's precise. We keep at it. And he adds that through divine imagination, our soul first gets the impulse to expand. And your divine imagination waits for every opportunity to express itself. Have you noticed that? It's really hard not to imagine something, right? Like I heard, or some of you felt a little rumbling today, a little earthquake, and where did your imagination go? Wow. It's hard not to imagine something. So why not cultivate this ability to imagine? How many felt that? I didn't feel it. A few of you did, yeah. And in California, we pay attention to those things, don't we?
Try to ignore them.
Yes. I remember when I was in Missouri, you can't ignore the weather. The weather has personality. And so our divine imagination And we know that our souls are here for their own growth. The soul is here for its own growth. And so while the human self may struggle with things, the soul's going, woohoo! Oh boy, I get to grow. I get to experience this and this and this and this. And the human self is, with everything that's going on in the world, pick a topic, from politically, socially, environmentally, personally, can be very challenging on a personal, human level. But to the soul, it's just nectar, like that hummingbird, dipping into all those flowers for its growth and its experience. The sweet and sour of life's experiences. So when we learn how to work more, cultivate our divine imagination, we know that it's very powerful to create new and wonderful things in our lives. So think of the good things you've already created in your life. What comes to mind? Something good you've created. Maybe in the area of relationships, or family, work, or travel, or creative projects, or experiences that you had a divine idea, you imaged it, and you took action to bring it forth. How many can think of something in the past year that you've done? Yeah. So one of Unity's basic beliefs is the law of mind action, which tells us that our thoughts, those persistent thoughts that we think consistently and with great feeling, have formative power to bring ideas from the formless realm into form. So everything is created twice. First in mind, in idea, and then in form. Somebody had an idea for this lectern right here and brought it into form. All those steps to bring it into form. So Jesus advised a 3-step process: to ask, to seek, and to knock. So asking means we have a clear picture of what our heart's desire is. Seeking shows that we see it as a possibility. We have faith that it can and is possible. And knocking means we're willing to do our part in bringing it. We are co-creating with God. It's a co-creative process. And so we learn how to cooperate with that more. If I want to lose 20 pounds, I'm not going to have a box of donuts every day. We learn how to go with the flow of God, go with the flow of our heart's desires, which have been implanted, those divine desires from God in our hearts. And we remember, too, that all prayers are answered, usually in one of 4 ways: no, slow, grow, or go. Have you ever prayed for something and it didn't come forth, and later you thought, oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that, there's those kind of, and it can be disappointing at the time, but with a little bit of perspective, we can see why. Or sometimes, we're praying with something where it's not happening yet, but certain things need to fall into place first. There's some other things. Divine order is happening, and little things have to fall into place first. And along with this, sometimes when we pray and we pray and we pray, and then there's some growth that is in the process. And when I get in this place and I've been praying, I always say, okay, what do I need to know here? What is my lesson here? What do I need to know? Because sometimes our prayers are answered with the growth. And by the time we get it and get the lesson, what we prayed for originally wasn't what we really wanted. It's the growth. And don't we love the other way our prayers are answered? Go, the door's open, yes, yes, yes. That part's so fun, isn't it, when that happens? There's a book called What's in the Way is the Way. That's a new perspective, isn't it? To say, okay, this is here. What do I need to learn from it? How do I want to be with it? I know my soul is going, woohoo, growing from it, even if my human self is struggling and pouting and not getting what it wants. We can do that, huh? My little grandson is 3, and he's learned how to pout. He just puts his nose up and walks over to the corner like this. I asked my son, where did he learn how to do that? So these past 2 years have no doubt challenged us on many levels. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, relationally, financially, boy. And since 2020, there was a collective that went into fear, panic, survival mode. And so there's been this energy of kind of tucking in, like, okay, I have my dream, but I'm just going to put it over here for now. But you know what? It's time to dream again. It's time to dream again. Yeah. The COVID, the virus will be on its way, going. And a divine imagination, I picture all those little spiky balls on a bus, headed out of town. Or a giant slingshot just flinging them into space and they burst into harmless particles. We can use our divine imagination that way. Because this too will pass at some point, right? So, when the building closed and we went online, that kind of happened here. We had more parts to our service, and we had our mission and our vision. And when I was thinking about our anniversary, I said, it's time to dream again. It's time to look at the vision and the mission again. Because we're here, and God is dreaming through us and has a plan for this community. So, this was Unity of Carlsbad's mission and vision that we had. And I invite you to say it with me and try it on and see how it feels. Because we're going to be working with it in the next few months to kind of maybe fine tune it, or who are we now? We're going to be asking those questions. So, not that. Aha. So I invite you, if you choose to, share the vision and speak it out loud. Together, we envision a world filled with spiritually centered people working together in peace and love to create heaven on earth. And the mission. Unity Church of Carlsbad is a loving and caring spiritual community that gathers together to express love, inspire one another, and grow in our awareness of the Christ within. I just invite you to take a breath and see how that feels. Beautiful, right? Beautiful vision, beautiful mission. Heaven on earth, yes. So where did your imagination take you with that? It made me smile inside. So to celebrate the good, we first have to imagine the good. Be willing to see it and give thanks for it. So what if it all goes right? Have you ever asked yourself that? I borrowed that from a Unity author, Mindy Odlin, and who poses the question as a springboard for communities and individuals to brainstorm constructive and uplifting possibilities that arise not only for our own lives, but for the world. And she calls it playing the what if up game. Because usually we've had a lot of practice in the what if down game, right? imagining the worst, giving in to fear, doubt, worry, and letting those thoughts affect our beliefs, our behaviors, our bodies, emotionally and physically. So there are many messages of the what if down game now, right? In the news, mass consciousness, worst case scenarios, pick your topic. So to have this tool if we're going to use our imagination, what if up? So here's a scenario that's perhaps less charged than what's in our news today. A story perhaps about school bullying. And the what if down game might sound like, what if the bullying students grow up to bully others or hurt others? What if kids are no longer safe at school? What if the teachers are afraid and start carrying, defense weapons or something? See how that can just spiral down? And how does your gut feel with that? But the what if up game invites us to imagine the good that can come out of any situation. For example, with the same story, the what if up scenario might be, what if these bullying stories inspire parents to talk to their children more? What if these kids who bully are giving the love and the resources they need to find another way to feel powerful? What if these bully students heal and grow to be leaders in their school and ambassadors in their world? You feel a difference in energy and in vibration in that imagination. So the what if up game invites us to use our imagination in a divinely directed way to imagine the best. And so consider if you've been playing the what if down game with something right now in your personal life or something in the world. And I invite you to entertain the what if up game with it. Does everybody have something in mind? Yeah. So what if up? What if this situation, Phil, whatever it is opening my heart to have more compassion for myself and others? What if this, fill in the blank, situation, it brings me and my family closer? What if this situation inspires new ways of living and relating to each other that bring more respect, ultimately bring more respect for all life? I hear people often say they long for the, quote, good old days. And maybe you said it yourself. There's a nostalgia place where things are softened in a glamour shot kind of way in our memories. Things were easier, not as hard, people were kinder, etc. That reimagination can get going. And granted, these past 2 years have presented us with some unprecedented challenges. Personally, socially, globally, and spiritually too, perhaps. Tested faith. But we have, and you have, spiritual resilience. Spiritual resilience. You have within you that core divine aspect that is fine. The spirit of you is eternal. The soul in you is woohoo, growing, whatever. And the personal self is trying to live unified as one with God, one with spirit. So we do have that built in, that spiritual resilience. You have that. So I was thinking back to when Unity Church of Carlsbad was first created, and who's created something from nothing, like a business or a house or a book or you know how much energy that takes. It takes soul force to keep on keeping on when those obstacles come up. So I thought about Reverend Pauline and her crew and Kathy and the energy and persistence and resources it had to have. And I wondered what was going on in the world at that time. Maybe you'll remember some of this. 1980. I know, maybe some of you were just a twinkle in God's eye then. So I went to some Time magazines from 1980. This is what was happening in the world while Unity Church of Carlsbad was being created. Some of the same things that now too, right? But did they let it stop them? No. They persisted. They had faith. They kept praying, turning to God. Yes. In 1980, I was a young mother of 2 kids. And actually in 81, I remember, I was married to a Marine, and he would come home every day with thinking there was going to be war. He would say this every day. And of course I was so scared. I was a young mother. I had 2 little kids. One was a baby. And I remember holding my daughter. She was about 4 months old. And in the middle of the night feeding her. And I thought, right now, there's a mother in Russia doing the exact same thing. Holding her baby, feeding her baby. And we both want the same thing for our children to grow up in a world that is safe and peaceful and kind. And I just had that come through in that vision. And that calmed me down. This was before I got into Unity. That calmed me down, just that connection to another soul across the world. And I remember feeding my daughter, and her eyes were rolling back in a bliss state, as babies do sometimes. I started laughing. And she looks up and she starts laughing. And I start laughing because she's laughing, and we're laughing at 4 in the morning. This is the daughter I got to spend time with. So, imagining the good, and being grateful for it. And of course, every decade has its comic relief, right? And distractions. Fun distractions, comic relief. I remember the last episode of Dallas was when I was giving birth to my daughter, and you could hear that theme song throughout the maternity ward. Dun, dun, dun. So good advice for us in these times: to celebrate always, pray constantly, and give thanks to God no matter what circumstances you find yourself in. So we are strong, we are resilient, we have continued to create heaven on earth here, partnering with God. For spiritual community is God's idea, God's dream, and so may we continue to call out the best in ourselves and each other, and in this community to continue as that beacon of light at Unity of Carlsbad for years and decades to come. Thank you.